Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm Tamiko Pugh, also known as the Empowering Diva. Each week, you'll hear inspirational interviews as well as actionable tips and strategies that you can implement into your daily life to help you live a life of passion, purpose, and potential. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump into today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. Are you the go-to person in your group of friends? Do you have a zest for life and enjoy helping others reach their full potential? Do you feel a calling to make a difference in the world? If this is you, then you may want to consider becoming a life coach. We have a virtual online training starting soon. Our life coach training focuses on helping women who desire to motivate, inspire, and empower other women by using their skills, expertise, and experience to thrive as a personal development coach. Using the empowerment formula, participants will learn step-by-step tools, tips, and techniques needed to attract great clients and build a thriving, purposeful, and profitable coaching business. Get all the details and register at www.tamikolori.com/life coach training. Welcome to another episode of Living the Empowered Life. I'm your host, the Empowering Diva, Tamiko Pugh. In today's episode, I'll be talking with author, speaker, podcaster, and intuitive healer Susan Burrell. Susan is the author of Live Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journey book filled with affirmations, tools, and exercises that will lead you to a higher, deeper consciousness, one of self-love and transformation. She is also the host of Empowering Chat with Susan Burrell, a thought-provoking podcast focused on how to live an empowered life filled with freedom and happiness. Susan has navigated life by learning how to listen within to that divine urge that keeps pointing her in the direction of her life's purpose, even when she can't see the road. With a master's degree in consciousness, Susan has been counseling and supporting people in transforming from the inside out for over 25 years. Her methods are proven because she has lived this journey to empowerment. Join me in welcoming Susan Burrell to the Living the Empowered Life podcast. Hello, Susan, and welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. How are you?
I'm fabulous, Tamiko. I'm on the West Coast and it's a bright sunny day. I hope that doesn't bum people out, but oh, wow, what a beautiful day.
And you know what? I'm actually on the East Coast in Atlanta, and it's a beautiful sunny day. I literally just came in from having my coffee on the patio. So one of the things, Susan, I've already read your amazing bio and did your introduction, as you heard, and you have so many amazing things going on and so many amazing things that you're doing that I would love to talk about. The interesting thing is that we have a lot in common. You
Yes,
have a book and you have a movement called Live an Empowered Life. And then I have Living the Empowered Life, which is very, very similar. I definitely believe in divine connection. So I'm so excited to really talk to you about empowerment and what it means to you. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what does the word empowerment mean to you?
Well, it's interesting because I never felt really empowered most of my life until I hit my mid years,
Mm-hmm.
and part of that was because, I felt empowered because I got out of a very contentious divorce and ended my marriage of 28 years. And that alone, I knew I wanted to have a better second half of life. And I wanted to feel empowered. I wanted to love and respect myself. I wanted to feel free from internal bondage. So for me, the word empower, I broke it down, and it's in my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey. I broke down the word empower into other words. So like the first E is for esteem, because that's what I had to work on. I had no esteem. I had to work on esteem. And then the next M I said was movement, but for me that really meant transformation, not being stuck. And then P was for purpose, O is for ownership, owning the good things that you do and you are, and not owning the stuff that's not yours. And then W is for wonder, creating a new sense of wonder and innocence. And E, the second E in empower, is emancipation, which kind of triggers people, but it's necessary. And then R was to realize the truth of who I am and who you are, who everybody is. But it takes for me, I found, Tamiko, that it really took an inner journey to come out in my life feeling empowered. And there's days where I trip myself up and I skin my knees again, and have to get up and stand in my power. But for the most part, it's much, my life is so good now.
That is amazing. I love that. And I love this acronym. Well, first of all, you said stand in my power, which takes me back to about 8, 9 years ago. When I was getting out of an abusive marriage, actually about 11 years ago. And one of the things I would repeat every day is, Tamiko, you have to stand in your power. You have to stand in your power. Stand in your power. I would literally look at myself in the mirror and say, stand in your power today. Because I felt like being in a toxic relationship took all my power away. And not an egotistical power, but just the essence of who I am. My self-esteem, you talked about self-esteem being the letter E. And so just my self-esteem was diminished. I had no idea what my life purpose was or why I was here or why I even had to go through those hard times. And so when you said stand in my power, it really resonated with me. And it brought back that memory of me looking at myself in the mirror saying, you have to stand in your power. You know what I mean? So that just did something to me.
Yeah, well, as you're talking, I'm getting chills, which is often my affirmation that truth is being spoken.
Yes.
And for so many women, Tamiko, for so many women, we end up in disempowering relationships, not, intentionally, but for whatever reason, whether it's to learn a lesson or, I hate that learning the lesson part, but but when we end up in these disempowering relationships, often we don't even know that we're in them until suddenly we wake up one day and we're like, holy moly, who am I? Why am I here? And the disempowering is, at least in my experience, and some of my clients' experiences, it is the partner that it's speaking about. It could be a boss or it could be a spouse, but it's the person that siphons off your positive energy. Wow. And they begin to suck that energy from you, and you don't even know that you're being disempowered because you're connected to that individual, especially if it's a spouse, right? There's an energetic connection, and consciously or unconsciously, and mostly it's probably unconscious, they suck you dry. They found the light. They're not necessarily feeling light within themselves. They're feeling darkness, or they are darkness. And so they find the light within you and they suck that, and they use that to fuel their life, their experience. And that's what happened to me. And I didn't know it. Not that my ex-husband was a bad guy, is a bad guy, but that is exactly what happened. Is the more I deepened my spiritual practice and the higher and deeper and wider my consciousness grew, the more energy he siphoned off of me. And I didn't know it until I went into divorce.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think oftentimes when we are transparent and we're able to share our personal experiences, we're able to touch so many more people. Oftentimes, even on social media, people can think that we have a perfect life, our photos are perfect, and, things seem so perfect. But at the end of the day, we all have a story, and our story can be so impactful when we're transparent, and it can be a blessing to so many people. So I just first want to say thank you for sharing that and for being transparent. I think it's very, very key to actually healing and helping other people to heal.
Oh, I really agree. And when I was going through my process, I realized that, and this speaks to fear, Tamiko, but I realized that I felt extremely vulnerable going through my divorce. And I really, there were times where I thought I was going to die in divorce. It was just so horrible for me. And what I realized coming out of it is that vulnerability that I has become my strength. And so when you say transparency, it's also a place. It's hard for people sometimes to be transparent, to say, this is my truth, this is what I think, because they're afraid of the vulnerability. That vulnerability is going to be the thing that undoes them. But vulnerability, to me, is a power. It is a strength, and we can be ourselves. We can. The more we get to know ourselves and live in that power, stand in that power, like you said earlier, then it's easier to be. Well, I don't know if it's easier, but then being vulnerable gives you an opportunity to really stand in your power, I guess.
Absolutely. It really does. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So you have a book, Live an Empowered Life, which is what we were talking about. And you actually shared those acronyms, which are very, very powerful. I actually wrote it down. And so what I wanted to ask you about your book was, what can we expect? Okay, we have the acronym for Empower, but what can readers expect from your book, Live an Empowered Life?
Well, so the book itself was birthed out of my personal experience of going through my divorce and wanting to come out whole and happy and free, and to love again, to love myself and to love someone else. And so it is a book that is actually to be experienced. It's like a workbook. So it's not you read it and all of a sudden, the magic key drops into your brain and you go, wow, I'm empowered. No, it's a workbook, and you got to do the work. And
Yes.
I've been teaching spiritual principle for close to 20 years now, and I only take clients and students now that are willing to dive deep and do the work. So that's what the book is. It is. I built it as an experiential. You can do it in 30 days. You can do it in 40 days. I don't care, as long as you do it. And the book interacts with my website. So there's guided meditations that you can listen to. You're prompted to go and listen to a guided meditation. You're prompted to go and watch a video. So basically, I wanted the people that work the book to know that I'm there with them every step of the way, so that they can come out feeling more empowered, and more in tune with who they are and loving themselves more than they ever have in their life. People that are finishing the book have said that they've learned something about themselves that they didn't know. One woman said, "Well, I really thought I was empowered, but I did the book anyway, and I realized that there were certain things I had hidden from myself that now looking at them now, I can let them go, as opposed to just keeping it in a dark box somewhere in the back of my mind." So it comes, like I said earlier, it comes out of my own experience. So all the experientials in there's experientials, everybody, you got to do them. There's journaling prompts, there's affirmations, all of it, I think works because I worked it, and I came out having done that work, feeling more free and owning my brilliance and really diving deep into the richness of my life.
I love it. I love that. And I love that it is a workbook, and you talked about doing the work. So when I think of a workbook, that means that there's work to be done. And I even tell my clients, in our first consultation, if you're not going to do the work, you may not be a good fit, because I don't want to feel like I'm robbing you. Like, I don't really need to take your money if you're not going to do the work. And so I love how you said, your clients are the ones that know they're going to do the work. Because if we don't do the work, then we're going to come out the exact same way. And we shouldn't come out of a program. We shouldn't read a book we should not come out of that the same way that we came in. There should be some type of transformation experience that happens from the inside out.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you 100%. And for me, what I'm noticing is that a lot of my clients working with me one-on-one or working with the book and then working with me are experiencing sustainable transformation, which is unusual. If you've been a transformation self-help junkie most of your life, I'm raising my hand, Tamiko, I was. Then to have that transformation, you know that there's always going to be another retreat you got to go to, or another workshop you got to pay for, and my goal is to support women in sustaining the transformation so they don't have to come see me, right? They can come in for a checkup, right? It's like the annual check-in, right? But not a weekly or whatever. So that's part of my mission, is to support women in creating sustainable transformation for themselves so they can stand in their power for the rest of their life. And it's interesting too, I just want to drop this in, Tamiko. I had, when my book came out, I sent it to some friends, so they could read it and review it and do it. And one of my friends said, I really, this seems like a book that's for people that are broken. I'm like, never saw it that way. Wow. And then when we went into this COVID-19 isolation thing, she's like, well, I guess I have plenty of time. I'll do your book. I'm like, okay. She doesn't think she's broken. She's halfway through the book. She's like, oh my God, I didn't know what I didn't know. She's listening to my guided meditations. I have guided meditations on my Facebook page that people can drop in and just listen to whenever. And she's become my one of my biggest rah fans now. This person that said it sounds like it's a book for people that are broken. It's not. It's a book. Well, it can be, but it's a book for women that want to really continue to empower themselves and learn more about themselves, like you said, from the inside out.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing process,
Ongoing.
I think we've all probably experienced some sort of brokenness, whether we realize it or not. And, people like yourself, people like me that recognize that, we're doing a great service. You're doing a great service for just people out there. Imagine how many people are picking up your book now because of COVID-19. We're quarantined, looking for something to do, and bam, you open up that workbook, Live an Empowered Life, and there it is. Now you get to have a transformative experience. You get to empower yourself. So I think that's amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. You shared a little bit about your personal experience. So I do believe that a lot of the things that we experience in life will often lead us to our life purpose. And so do you think that your life experiences, or how has your life experiences prepared you for the work that you're doing today?
How has my life prepared me for today? Wow. Well, it's been a very circuitous route and journey to get to where I am. And, it's always when you've lived life long enough, you look back and go, oh my God, I had no clue I was going to end up here. Well, when I was in my late teens, I felt a deep inner urge, what I call now a divine urge to know myself. But it was really to know myself on a higher level. And so to know a higher source and become in some ways a conduit for that source. And which is what I've become now. I didn't realize it when I was 18 that that's what I was going to be doing. A lot of times people that go on a spiritual quest, they keep that separate from their daily life, right? I go to work 9 to 5, but I'm doing my spiritual quest on the weekends or early in the morning,
right.
And now what it's become is I fortunately get to live my life grounded in source, in spirit. I pay attention to a lot of different intuitive things. That's why I also claim that I'm an intuitive healer. So I listen on several different levels, not only for my clients, but for myself. during, it doesn't even matter that it's in the quarantine, but oftentimes when we're attuned and in tune with our intuition, we can also pick up on what's going on with individuals, with other people. And I often have to, if I go out to the store or I hang out with friends, I have to later ask myself when I'm feeling different things, is this mine?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Is this someone I just said hello to? Is it someone that passed me by in the grocery aisle, that their energy system or the thing that they are struggling with came into my awareness? And is it mine? And oftentimes it's not. And when I realize that it's not, then I just simply bless that individual, energetically send them love. Because sometimes the yucky stuff can download when you're an intuitive, and nobody intentionally means to do that to you, right? I call them drive-bys in the supermarket.
I like that though. Drive-by. I just got hit by a drive-by. Yeah,
that's right. And sometimes if when you become intuitively aware and pay attention, you're able to stand in your power more consistently, because you're aware that we're all energy systems, Tamiko, right? We are all energy. That's the absolute truth. Quantum physics has proven it. Ancient spiritual teachers have proven it. And because we're all energy, then it makes sense, like I said earlier, with your spouse or a business person, you can get your energy entangled. And it's important to discern what is yours and how to separate that out and not allow drive-bys to download and begin to make you small.
Yeah, or make you feel sad or just different things like that. I know for a long time I couldn't figure out, like some days I would just be sad. When I first started this journey, I specifically only worked with domestic violence survivors because that's what I knew. I was a survivor, and I felt that that's who I was called to minister to or to support. And so I would oftentimes feel sad. I would feel depressed. And so I was taking on all of their energy before I realized that I was an empath. And so even now I'll look at my husband, I'm remarried, wonderful husband, and I'll look at him and I'll say, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Are you having an empath moment?"
I do the same thing. With my current spouse or my son. My son will come over to visit and we'll sit down on the couch, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, and I have to say, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Mom, you got to stop doing it." Okay, I'll stop doing it. Really, are you okay?
Yeah, and when you don't realize it, that you have that gift, it's a blessing and a curse. Like I said, I would be sad on some days and didn't even know why. But now I know how to channel that energy. I know how to breathe, and I know how to go outside for some fresh air. And, I love water. Water is very calming for me. And so I know I need to go take a walk by the lake or, do something that's going to bring me back to the happy, joyful Tamiko that I am. You know what I mean? So I find that very interesting. There's so many of us out there, and when you don't know, you just don't know. And you're just like, why do I feel like this? Make it go away. I don't want to be sad today.
Right. And like you just said, you can make it go away by bringing your awareness to, is this mine or someone else's? And then getting out in nature or going for a walk, or just to let the whole body, mind, and emotional system release what is not serving you and what is not yours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. We have lots of things in common. I'm loving this. I'm loving this conversation.
Me too.
So, Susan, one of the principles of living the empowered life, I have 6 principles that are part of living the empowered life. And one of them is to face your fears. And I often tell my clients, you have to do it scared, right? And I noticed that in your Activate Empowerment talk, you actually dive into the topic of fear. And so how important is it for a person to face their fears?
Oh, well, okay. It's actually vital. I had a friend years ago who would call me up and she's like, "I have to do this thing and it's scaring me to death. And I would say, what are you going to do? She goes, I guess I have to do it, because if I'm afraid, I got to go through it. I was like, oh, I don't want to be like that. But the truth is if we face our fears, if we look at them, we can begin to see how it could be an ego device that's just trying to keep us small or keep us stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a non-real fear. We sometimes when we get scared, we think it's real, but it's not. It's just a reaction to a past wounding or an old belief system that really it needs to be done away with. So facing our fears, it's actually a really healthy, to me now, even though I didn't like doing it, it's a really healthy tool to begin to clear out the stuff, the belief systems, the energy systems that are keeping you from living your empowered life. They're keeping you from living your best life and enjoying it.
That is so true. And just piggybacking off of what you said, oftentimes the fears are not even real. We either make them up or it's something that we've learned. Maybe we learned something growing up. Maybe someone said something to us. But a lot of times they're learned behaviors. And when I was studying the topic of fear, I realized that we're only born with 2 or 3 fears, and that being the fear of bright lights, loud noises, and falling. All of the other fears that we have, they're either self-inflicted or we've learned them, from our parents, teachers, just life experiences. And so when I realized that, I thought, wow, this thing is not even real. Like, it's literally just in my head. When I wrote my first book, I held on to it for 2 years before I released it. I was afraid. I'm like, nobody really knows me. Who's going to read this book? What if no one shows up to the book signing? Like, I had all these what ifs, and released the book, had my publisher go ahead, and we published the book. The book signing was sold out. It ended up being a Amazon #1 bestseller. And I'm like, the fear was not real. So ever since that time, I was able to really walk in faith and say, you know what? If there's something that I want to do or something that I feel like I'm called to do, I'm just going to do it. Even with this podcast, I held on to it for a year and a half before I released it. I was supposed to release it in January of 2019 and just kind of held on to it. I didn't think I was ready. And I realized that the fear was setting in again. And so this year, I literally took the exact same flyer that I created in 2019 and changed the date coming in January of 2020. And I was like, you know what? My husband said, you just need to do it. And I did it, and I love it. I love being able to interview women like you who are empowering, who are impacting other women. And so do it scared. That's all I can say is do it scared.
I got chills when you said that too, Tamiko. Doing it scared is like walking out on that bridge and you don't know that it's there, right? You're just taking that step off the cliff. But there's always a bridge or a pathway that opens up when we step off that cliff.
Yes, there is definitely a pathway that opens up. And our breakthrough is on the other side of fear oftentimes. Whatever that thing is that we need, it's on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And again, it's an ego device to keep us small. And I really believe everyone on the planet is supposed to be as big and bright and as happy as they were meant to be. I think that we've all been dropped on this planet to expand ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to be more of who we are. We're called to be more. Otherwise, and that's the divine urge. We're always called to create and become more than who we were the day before or an hour ago.
Yes, I think that is so powerful. Wow. We were created to be more than we were just 5 minutes ago. Wow. I think that's very powerful right there. Really, really is. So, Susan, I like meditating. I got into meditation a few years ago. It was very difficult for me at first. And so guided meditation made it easier for me to be able to actually focus. And I noticed that you have some guided meditations and you have a free guided meditation. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that and how we can access your guided meditation?
I would love to. It is this particular meditation that I'd love to gift your listeners is called Out of the Box Thinking. And it's kind of timely with everybody being in this quarantine and feeling like they're in a box. And they can get it through Susan Burrell, BURREL.com/free-gift-meditation. And I have a lot of guided meditations that are on an app called Insight Timer. And then I'm also doing guided meditations on my Facebook, Susan Burrell. It's facebook.com, Susan Burrell page. Okay. That's my business page. And people can access some of the guided meditations that I've done there. We're going to keep them there for a while. I did a 14-day, when the lockdown happened, that's what I call it, this quarantine. I did a 14-day guided meditation, daily meditation, and those are still on that business page on Facebook.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I'll actually share that information. Once your podcast goes live, I'll also share those links with the listeners and our social media audience as well, so they'll have access to that. So Susan, you have a plethora of amazing things that you are doing, especially as it relates to empowerment. I don't want to leave anything out. So do you have anything that you want to say to the audience, a final thought, a charge, anything that you want to say at this time?
I think probably two things, Tamiko. First of all, I just started a Facebook group. It's called Live Your Empowered Life. And in that group, we're going to be exploring, of course, empowerment. And also we're going to, I'm leading a call for people to begin to investigate, are they a light leader? I think that it's time, which is why we're talking right now, right? Because we are both light leaders, to call other light leaders to come out of hiding and to stand in their power, so that we can co-create a world that works for everybody, and we no longer have to be in fear of anything, but especially in fear of each other, of interfacing with other human beings. So are you a light leader? And it's going to be in my Facebook group, Live Your Empowered Life. And I really, Tamiko, I just want to say thank you to you for standing in your power and embracing your life after, I don't know your whole story, but if you're a survivor, then it must have been rough. And I just applaud you standing in your power and being that light leader that you are, and supporting other women in standing in their power. Because when one or more of us are gathered, right, yes, we can change the world. And really now is the time to be those people that step out of this quarantine empowered and shining the light and the love that we all are, so that we can be connected again as a humanity.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. Thank you. I'm very honored and very, very humble. Come from very, very humble beginnings. And so the work that I'm called to do, I don't take it lightly. I just count it a blessing and an honor, to be one of those people that was chosen to literally to be a light in the world, because we are in a world of so much darkness. So, and I'm thankful for people like you as well. And like you said, now is the time to step out of this quarantine empowered. You literally just empowered me to do more. So you've empowered me to want to go back to my community and make sure that when they come out of this quarantine, that they are empowered, that they are equipped to be who they were created to be. So you've really inspired me to do that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. I look forward to supporting you, supporting anything that you have going on with your business and any of the initiatives that you have going on, and really took away a lot of great nuggets, a lot of great inspiration. So thank you again for being a part of the podcast.
You're welcome. It was my honor and pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. I hope that you enjoyed my soul-fulfilling conversation with Susan Burrell and that you are able to draw some inspiration as you continue on your journey of living an empowered life. And remember, empowerment comes from within and can be achieved by honoring yourself, your values, and expressing your talents and gifts. So ladies, listen. It's time to discover and live your life purpose. It's time to value yourself. It's time to set goals that are going to move you forward in life. It's time to rebuild your confidence. It's time to fearlessly walk in your authentic power. And ladies, it's time to live the empowered life.